Welcome back, everyone, to 1 Million Minds. How are you doing, Balaji?
I'm doing fantastic. We are at the peak of summer. Fun times.
I know I was sitting right there working on my computer when you called and
Oh
made this
yeah.
call. So I'm happy I'm
Is
out
it
of
the
the beach now.
French Riviera?
I mean, whatever it is, it looks good. That's all I have to say. But it's exciting. Summer is annoyingly warm in Texas, but it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to going past it. But there's a lot of fun stuff planned for today. So let's get into it. There's like three major topics we want to cover. There's, again, just like every week, there's so much new things coming in. New models making the other models obsolete within a few weeks of coming to release. So we definitely would love to talk more about it. So let's talk that actually. So I know, I don't know how many of you read about this, but one of the main things is Anthropic releases best AI model, Claude Sonnet 3.5. And of course, we talked about this in previous things too. Like reports and benchmarks are always used to kind of showcase this model's capability, and it's um, showing up ChatGPT 4.0 already, which came out within less than a month ago. The new model is 2x more faster than the Claude 3. There's a lot of amazing demos. We don't have time to go to each one of them, but there's a lot of things that it shows like it's doing better than photo, right from clone using geometric shape, some physics question that is better than photo, some coding stuff that is doing better. It is with a little bit of testing, people who've tested it, so it's noticeably faster and stronger in writing and better handling larger documents. So those are all the pros for it. And the cons, of course, is it doesn't have useful features like ChatGPT has like an image generator, a voice mode, memory custom instructions. So those are the things that is not there. But if you just look at the velocity at which these models are coming out right now and how each one is, according to their research, is better than the model that was released a few months ago, right? It's in the same hypothesis we've talked about multiple times, is these models are going to be getting to parity at some point, and less incremental improvements. Really, you're not going to lose any valuable thing if you just use a model 6 months ago. But just captures the general sense. I'm pretty sure the next GPT version will be better than this. Gemini is going to release something that's better than this. So it's a ongoing war, a very expensive war with a lot of money being pumped into it. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, this is a awesome graph. First of all, right? It just gives you the perspective when it started and how it's all moving. You can already see the benchmark scores upwards of 80. Things are getting narrower and narrower, right? It started with a wider gap. Things are closing in. One of the things, Rajni, I was wanting to talk about is this concept of an end of era for large language models, right? What does it even mean, right? I think the first wave of this is slowly coming to a place where the incremental value is probably easier to show on this 1%, 2% increase in this benchmark. But what are we getting out of it at the end of the day, right? Is there anything more than what it was in November 2022? It's all getting more accurate, but what's the incremental value, right? So I'm more looking into velocity being gained on the smaller models, which are more purpose driven. People can plug into workflows and stuff. But this is great. I mean, it puts things in perspective. How who's leading the pack, and how others are catching up. There's no Apple here, but yeah, that's my complaint.
Yes, I think they are working on something secret, so maybe they will. But I think what is happening is, again, this graph is from Neuron, a very interesting newsletter in AI. So to me, what you said really is where my head is to. Is there's millions of dollars being put into developing these models. I'm glad somebody's doing it. I'm glad there's competition, so it's not just GPT running away with this or OpenAI running away with this. Gemini, I'm pretty sure Llama open source models are also have some capabilities, right? So this is definitely getting to a point where yes, there's going to be incremental improvements, but tons of money pumped into it. At some point, they're like, okay, you know what? Is it really worth it? Everybody needs to question that. But I think these models are great for playing around or big enterprise using it. But the usefulness, like you said, becomes when some of the intelligence and smaller models and that can go into a phone form factor or something that's or what you're going to show later in a browser can be when those become reality. I think it'll open up an entire world of use cases. I was reading about it, right? So I know adoption of AI is being compared to the internet, but the internet is more of a network. AI is similar to what an adoption of a computer is, right? So the I think apples to apples, adoption of computers and adoption of AI would be a better analogy than comparing to the internet. But what I'm going with is this: if you not see about it, the computers, what did they first start? They're like 4 or 5 computers is enough is where they started. To now it's almost in everything. Your phone has it, your house thermometer has it. So the form factor has changed, and the computers all, everywhere. I think that's where we headed. So for it to get to all these possible use cases, smaller form factors, and very specific focus areas where I think it's going to be. So I agree
Right.
with
I mean,
your assessment.
to add to your thought process, Rajni, I mean, when we started, we had the DARPA net or something, right? Then you had the mainframes, then became the PC revolution, which is kind of bringing it to the consumer side, right? And then we have the cloud. It all went back again. Now it's going to come back on the edge again with AI, right? So it's kind of it's iterating itself back and forth every time, bringing a new wave of change, and it's fascinating. And this time it's bringing in change where the modality where how you interact with the computers is going to completely change. It's not the same way as you interact with the PC.
Agree. So this leads to the next topic, which is who is the person who's like we always focus on how do entrepreneurs kind of jump on this I wouldn't say bandwagon, this wave, right? Like how do you really make money from this wave? Who is actually making money? Because it's always good to understand who the big boys are making money. Of course, you can build LLMs and charge $20 for it. I mean, who knows how much it's costing them? Yes, they are making hundreds of millions of dollars, but what if it's costing them 500 million to actually provide the service? We don't know. So we'll keep that to the people who have lots of money. But if you are a smaller entrepreneur or a smaller person who says, how do I get into this? How do I make money? Is what's happening in Accenture, McKinsey, IBM is a good way of approaching this because a lot of these consulting companies are absolutely raking in dollars as they are moving into the service side of AI. Because for McKinsey, 40% of McKinsey's total business will come from AI services this year alone. So what's happening is a lot of the leaders are wondering, hey, how do I incorporate AI into my budget? Or like they don't, there's a lot of FOMO, right? They don't want to miss out on what everybody else is doing. They don't know exactly what they want, but they want to make sure they're saying they're working on AI projects. So what that translates to is a lot of these consulting companies saying, you want an AI project? I'll give you an AI project. Here's some hundreds of slides and here's a platform you could use. That's being very flippant about it, but I'm pretty sure they're offering value. But at this point, a lot of companies, whether they're cutting costs, cutting headcount, the only place they are kind of focusing some of their bets for the near future is I'm going to invest more in AI, whatever that translates to each business. So there's a lot of companies making money in this. Of course, the McKinsey's and Accentures are providing value for bigger enterprises, but there is an opportunity in the small and business space too. So just having ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude is not enough. We need some services, people who can implement these software so that they can deliver to the masses. Because most people, other than knowing what that they wanted, they really don't know even how to implement it. So it's a great opportunity for service businesses to prop up to help this. So that's a great opportunity I see.
100%. So when you're talking about this dialogue comes to my mind. I think this is very common in the AI. I think we have encountered this, right? The common question is, what can it do for me, right? And the other side asks, what do you want it to do, right? It has to meet somewhere. And I think the problem here, I see personally, because we have been doing this for a while, is that explaining what it can do in a way a business person understands is the most difficult part of how this AI revolution is going through, right? And I think consulting firms and others who are coming into play play a key role in what you call simplifying this explanation, right? And so people can understand what AI can actually bring to the table and then start building towards. So it totally makes sense that consulting companies are coming into play because they have this skill to explain things in a way that consumer or businesses understand.
Agree. So they are. I think there's a couple of ways these consulting firm companies are playing this. One is pure service, where we come in and you decide what product you want or what. If somebody who has a better definition of what they want, but most of the others are working on the lines that they're building their own agents or platforms, and just like Nvidia is trying to build people who are sticky customers. These consulting companies are big. Okay, we'll implement the entire platform, and each part of the platform will help a different group within your company. So once you kind of plug into it and it becomes second nature using these tools, then it'll be tough to say, okay, let's remove the entire platform out of our workflow. So it's a great play from a business model perspective, how this is playing out. And I'll be interesting to see how much value is being provided to what is being charged, because everybody, I'm pretty sure McKinsey is not cheap. So it will, in a year or two, we'll see mostly how many of this was actually working and how many of this actually, just because we had the budget for AI, we're going to use it, right?
Right on. I think that you are right, spot on the fact that this is for the bigger, larger enterprises and trying to explain where this fits in, right? But there's other tiers, different tiers of businesses, and one of the key questions I have is who's going to build those sandboxes and put those toys in there for those businesses who want to do it and experiment and try without consulting every single aspect, right? And there's a market for that. I know we talked about this with the C3Is of the world bringing in sandboxes for the big guys, but I'm eager to see who brings sandboxes for the other types of businesses where the tools are a little bit more simplified, not giving every single lever, right? Because people don't have time or resources to spend on to figure out everything by themselves. So you got to start producing a canned version of things so people can build.
Yeah, I think one of the key things read about this week or heard it this week is about Cognition, the company that offers Devin, right? They are a multi-million-dollar company. I think they were less than 20 employees, but when asked, and they're servicing thousands of enterprise clients. So when you ask the CEO, how are you doing with such a small set of employees? He said he has like 18, maybe it's 18 employees. There are thousands of agents that are doing the jobs of employees. So really, they don't envision the companies like compared to like a Google or a Facebook. They don't envision it's being very resource intense company because they're using these agents to do it, right? So that's another set of things that as entrepreneurs you can look at it as, yes, there's a services business, but can you use tools like Cognition to be able to offer a package to these businesses which says, hey, I'll implement this. And then, by the way, if you are thinking about augmenting your development team, a company like Devin using Devin's agents or the Cognition agents to augment your development resources so that you can provide 10x the service with less people, right? So I see a lot of these happening. Again, we're not quite there yet. We can talk a little bit more about where reality is, but the bottom line is a combination of implementing services or implementing some agents or with human in the loop too to augment your coding is a great place for a lot of these entrepreneurs to start.
Totally agree. Yeah, absolutely.